I think you have to fail to learn. And again, I'm perfect, so I don't. And it's also okay to fall on your face in front of everybody. And it's a hard thing to do and experience, but it is, I cannot tell you the most things I've learned, especially no matter what job you have, what company you want to open, whatever that looks like, you're going to have to deal with people, period. And the worst things that happen with, engaging with people is sometimes things that give you the most knowledge in how to do things differently or better. And it truly teaches you and humbles you. I always say every single human should be in some kind of service industry job before they, go into whatever they want to go into, just to be around people and see how people, because people be peopling.
Welcome to the Cashflow Chronicles Open Forum. I'm Matt Allison, a commercial insurance advisor helping businesses protect their cash flow by managing risk and putting the right protections in place.
And I'm Brad Metzger, a commercial lender specializing in finance solutions, from lines of credit and term loans to real estate mortgages. I'm here to help businesses grow and stay flexible.
This podcast is a community-driven conversation for CFOs, finance leaders, and business owners who want real insight into cash flow, credit, and financial resilience.
We keep it practical, collaborative, and to the point.
Powerful finance conversations in under 40 minutes, built for busy professionals. This is the Cashflow Chronicles Open Forum.
Hey everyone, welcome to the latest Cashflow Chronicles Open Forum. More powerhouses come and join us here. Happy to have Kim Blair join us. Kim, thank you so much for joining us here. Want to walk through a little bit more about who you are as a person, kind of what got you to be in your current position, a little bit about yourself from a background standpoint.
Awesome. Well, thanks for having me. A little bit about me. I'm originally from Chicago. Now you get to know from when I was 2, we can keep talking, but I'm in Michigan now, and I've always been in either an environmental or a retail field, which seems kind of two edges of a totally different sword, but it's really cool because I've ended up at this company called Rebel Nell. And it's using both of those sides of me. Really, we are a social enterprise. We have a sustainability compound, and we also prioritize employment for women with barriers. And we create jewelry from repurposed materials. So I'm really using both of those kind of backgrounds, even though they're wildly different, of that retail experience that I've had for over a decade, and also that environmental experience I've had working at the EPA and other nonprofits and nature centers. It's kind of wild. But right now I'm the vice president of operations and business development. So I oversee everything. We are a small business. So yes, it's operations, which encompasses logistics. It encompasses production. I oversee our production manager who oversees our team. And then business development. As we know, any type of entrepreneur, we know what it's like to be out there mingling with people and learning about their businesses and how we can do things together. And then I also oversee all of our retail spaces, experiences, and events as well. So just a few things.
So what changed when you stepped into that elevated leadership role? And what were some of the lessons you had moving into that role with all those responsibilities?
Yeah. So I started with the company in 2022 as just a retail director. So I was overseeing, we had a couple store locations. So I was overseeing just retail spaces. And then I added on business development about a year or so in. And then I added on the VP title and added operations under my belt as well. So getting into this role, it's really important to learn how to step away from some day-to-day things, right? When you're in the weeds, especially in a small business, you want to do everything yourself. And so being able to develop a team that really can take on some of those things that you don't need to be touching, step away, don't do it. And you also learn how to, either coach up or coach out your team, right? We've got people that are amazing. We have just a stellar team right now, which is super exciting. So the stress piece is totally minimal when it comes to that, which is wonderful, but it is also hard. I tend to be a perfectionist and I want to do everything a certain way. So letting go of some of those things in a VP role is super important because you cannot be everywhere and do everything. It's just not possible. You will burn out in 32 seconds. So being able to step back, make sure my team had what they need, make sure they have the training under their belt. Obviously, I'm there as a resource, but I'm not there as your day-to-day getting things done in that way. So that was hard for sure. Always working on it and always one to step in when needed, but being able to really give them that ability to develop themselves and also feel confident that they're doing a really good job. And if they're not, obviously we're human. I know I never make a mistake ever, period. Okay. Just remind, but yeah.
So you have different avenues within the organization and you have different teams. So how can we talk about the importance of empowering your people to kind of make that decisions for themselves, which will help you in the end. How do you align these different avenues and different teams to kind of have the same mindset and move towards the same goal? How do you
Yeah. And I
prioritize
think
it?
for sure, prioritizing. Well, learning how to prioritize. I mean, we all know, quote unquote, what that looks like. But in a VP role, you really have to figure out what you need to delegate, right? And I think the really important thing, and we have a space in Grand Rapids. We're based out of Detroit. So we have distance between certain teams. So it's always a challenge, right? And I think sometimes building your culture and maintaining your culture is a really hard part of, running a business because you want everyone to be on the same page. And sometimes you kind of have to figure out what that looks like. We do team building experiences as part of, an arm of Rebel Now. So we have to kind of walk the talk and it's not always easy. And sometimes it is figuring out the right people. And our mission is so centered to everything, no matter what we do. Because at the end of the day, we are here as a company to support the people in our community, number one and always. And I think that's really important, especially for a for-profit social enterprise. That is why we do what we do. And anytime I talk to people, they're like, oh my gosh, I want to do that. I'm like, we're just here to do more so we can support more people. Like that's why we want to do what we do. And I think keeping that core understanding of our true mission really helps align everyone no matter their role and knowing they're doing something awesome for a badass company led and run by women. And I think that is the core to keeping a culture alive, no matter where you're located, and knowing we all have this common goal of just being amazing and being really strong and doing a really good job. And it keeps people excited to show up. And when people are excited to show up and feel like they're part of something bigger, it gives that autonomy to really take ownership over what they're doing. And that helps them be the best person they can be in their role, for sure.
How do you go about finding, I'll just say, the right community partner or business partner as you go through, you have a mission. Walk me through kind of the process of finding the perfect partner.
Yeah. And I think it's a couple ways. We have nonprofit partners, and I think the important thing there is making sure that they're providing the support that the women on our teams really need. So that's number one. Like Detroit is such a small city for being a pretty big city. It is big, okay? I know I'm from Chicago, but still. So once you kind of know one or two people, you get to know a lot more people. And so figuring out the resources that are truly applicable to our team and then figuring out who provides those opportunities. And to be honest, a lot of people come to us. They have housing opportunities, they have people that are looking for work as well. We partner with 6 different shelters throughout the city to provide that employment piece for. Obviously, we can only employ X amount of people at a time, right? We've actually hired our 50th woman this year that we've had gone through a program. I call it a program, it's a job. But again, we provide these resources so that they can truly take a next step with success and not have to come back to the shelter system. That's the whole goal. So again, I think a lot of it is knowing people. We have a smaller community in Detroit, and then people literally seek us out all the time because they're like, we do this. We would love to do stuff with you. Like, we love what you're doing. So I think with the nonprofit support end, we have more resources, which is great to provide. So I love that aspect. And when it comes to corporate or those bigger partnerships, you know, We do corporate gifting, which I think is really important. And one thing I tell potential clients sometimes is like, we're here to make you look good. Like nothing says a company cares by, you know, relating with a company that does some really cool and really great stuff for their community like we do. So anytime a client's like, well, what do you do? Why should I care? All these other things. I was like, it's because of our mission. Obviously, we do great stuff. Like that's number one, right? You can't hide behind anything half-assed in that regard. So we do a really good job. But on top of that, we make people look good. And if they have any type of conscience, we know that they're going to want to work with us. And so I think part of that is if they get onto our mission and really are excited about what we do on top of the quality of services and product we provide, it's going to be a good mix. And we also sometimes love to work with women-owned corporations or companies that have CEOs and presidents that are women. I think that's always a great way to support each other. But we obviously do more than just that. So, we do a lot of sport things, which is definitely a male-dominated space. So we do not outlay anybody, but it's also one of those things where it's like, if you get excited about what we do and our mission, we know it's going to be a good fit and that will be able to provide something amazing for you and also make you look good. You're welcome. But, it really shows kind of a softer side to corporate that they actually care.
So one thing that comes up, let me talk about the Detroit community where it's like the power of networking. Because I think it's interesting talking to individuals in other markets. Like the Midwest is so rooted in the community piece because your community, you want to vouch for individuals. You're pretty active in the community as well because business development's a big part of your role in addition to operations. What have you learned moving from Chicago to Detroit from a community aspect, from business development and just supporting
Yeah.
the ecosystem of business here?
I mean, I think Detroit is such a unique space. Like Chicago has its little neighborhoods, like true neighborhoods. And Detroit says they have neighborhoods. I believe it, but they're totally different from a Chicago neighborhood. So I feel like there's definitely, maybe I call it cliques, whatever that looks like. There's just very specific pockets in Chicago. And with Detroit, yes, you've got your pockets, you've got your neighborhoods, you've got your things like that. But it's a pro entrepreneurial city. It just lives and breathes this startup culture and has some amazing structures set in place that it's developed over the past decade or so to really empower people that want to do something bigger. And I think that no matter what sector you're in, tech or sport, whatever that looks like, everyone has this commonality. And I think it brings more people together in that respect. And I think the opportunities in Detroit is, right, we have that startup mindset. We have that collaboration energy and the excitement around doing really great things and showing off to everybody else in the world because Detroit's doing big things. It's, the number one city to visit in 2026. I don't remember what magazine, but a very famous one, I'm sure. But we're a big deal now, and people are recognizing what's coming out of the city. And so I think the next step that I want to see is getting that opportunity structure in the city to do more than just Detroit, Midwest, Michigan based things. And again, like having that strong startup community, truly everyone's rooting for everybody. And I think that is so different, especially from Chicago, where it's very like, you better already have stuff together to come there. You got to have it together. We don't have time for you and your little startup thoughts and whatever. They're a little more like that, a little bougie. But Detroit started in grit, right? And now we're going to greatness. And, I really think that the community, no matter what sector you're in, strives off that and really loves it. And it's just such a powerful vibe. I guess that's what the cool kids say. Vibes. I don't know. I don't know. I'm very old, but it's just something I've never seen before.
I think mentoring some children and children, high schoolers, they say terms and I'm like, I don't know what that means, but awesome. And it keeps me young. I guess that's the way to phrase it. They're
Okay.
great. They're great kids. Just kind of funny with that piece.
You got to
I think
Google a
one
lot of
thing,
things out of that after you do meetings with them, huh?
it's like, how frequently do high schoolers say bro? I'm not sure.
8 million. And also the whole 6'7" thing, I was like, "Why? Why? Why?" And then I think back
What
to the
does it
90s, I
mean?
was like, I like someone told me and I already forgot. But I think of the 90s, we did some very cringe things then that I would judge if I saw that happening now as an adult. So I get it, but also, what?
You realize you're so old when you're like, bro, you don't have time to play this with me. I'm like, no, I don't. Why? It's like, I'm working till 10. And I'm like, are you serious? I'm like, yes, that's the world we live in at times. I do think though, anyone that comes into Detroit from out of town, they're like, dude, Detroit's awesome. Just the energy in the city. And a shout out to our previous guest, Steve Gregorian in the DEC. He kind of talked about the transition that we've
I
seen in
love
Detroit.
Yeah, I love Steve. He's awesome.
He's a beacon for Detroit, in my opinion. I think that's just speaks to the community as well. As far as a mission driven organization, how do you manage the revenue split with a mission? I know that can always be a challenge at times because you stick to a mission, but you still got to pay bills.
Wait, bills. That seems funny.
Yeah.
Yeah, and again, that's super fair because a lot of times people think we're a nonprofit, right? And they're just like, "Oh my god, you're so cute." I'm just like, "We're actually a successful business, but thank you for we love being cute." So, and we are an L3C, so it's also structured a little bit differently with our bottom line. But we do things exactly like any other company would do in the most part as far as how we price things and sell things and need to meet goals and obviously pay our bills. I promise we do that. And, pay living wages to all of our employees. And at the end of the day, I think the biggest difference is that we take time and energy to make sure that our team has what they need. And it kind of sounds silly. I use this to kind of talk to other people when they're just like, "Oh, you're not a nonprofit," that question or statement that people make. And I'm like, it's like any other company, except when you're late to a job 2, 3 times in a row, you're going to get fired. They're like, you can't show up, then bye, have a nice day. And instead of doing that, we have a conversation. Hey, why? Why can't you show up on time? Is it because you don't know how to take public transportation? Is it because you don't have money for public transportation? Is it because you have kids and you have to get them to daycare and it turns out to be exactly the same time as your shift starts? There are so many answers to that question, why? And we figure it out. Do you need to start later? Do you need to do a different type of shift? Obviously it depends on, the role they have. Typically, a lot of the women start in our production team. So we are a little more flexible as like a retail store, which has specific hours, right? And those aren't flexible. But still, like we ask those questions, we get them the help they need or the sources they need to get XYZ so that they can show up, right? And all we require for employment is you want to work. That's it. We don't care about anything else is you want to have a job, you want to learn and you're ready to go. And that's it. So I think that's really the biggest difference when it comes to that. And, when people always ask, oh, can I donate to you? It's like, buy something. The more revenue we can bring in as a company, the more people we can employ and support. Like that's how we do what we do. So just like your company, you need to go out, you need to get business to come in, you need to have those connections, those clients, and have those goals and meet them. We do exactly the same thing, right? And we just add a layer of the people. And that's part of the L3C structure instead of an LLC, a traditional one, is that, we have to apply for our sustainability and people and planet first certification to be a social enterprise and also have that people piece as part of our bottom line. So that's the only difference. We still do everything a traditional business does. We just have a purpose and we want to support that purpose. And that is what drives us to do a better job every day, to get more clients to come in, to get people excited to come into our stores, to host events that really make people excited and want to come and buy a ticket and things like that. We have our International Women's Day coming up in March 18th, and, it's our biggest and best event of the year. And we get tons of sponsorships and tons of people to come and enjoy and really, really amazing, guest speakers and panelists. So again, we're like any other company that does a conference, right? You got to get a headliner, you got to do these, you got to do that. So I think it's just a different mentality versus a different way to do business, if that makes sense.
I think that's a great point. 'Cause I think that's kind of the conundrum people talk about. We're a mission driven organization, but we still have to have the bottom line and pay individuals along those lines. Because sometimes it seems, Brad can speak for this as well. When you're a nonprofit, there's a bit more headaches to go through as far as boards and things like that. When you're a bit more flexible, when you have a bottom line that has to be measured because a bit more streamlined from those structures.
Yeah.
As Rebel Nell has scaled and you grew up in the organization. What are some lessons you learned as far as operational efficiency and overall like culture as far as becoming a leader in the organization, as far as like, hey, we're trying to accomplish the missions I have. Are there any like lessons or recommendations you would tell anyone as far as your learning experience?
Yeah, I think number one, people are everything. You don't have a company without people, and you don't have a culture without people, and finding the right people and then realizing when they are the wrong people. So I think that's a huge lesson to learn. You sometimes get really excited. You're like, I'm going to hire this person. They're going to do all these things for us. They're going to bring in this, they're going to bring in that. And they come in and either they don't do what they say they're going to do, they don't have a culture fit. And no matter what, no matter if they're bringing in revenue or not, the culture fit is number one. And so I think if that alignment isn't there, right? You're not going to get the culture that's going to support the business, that's going to support the mission and, all encompassing support Rebel Now, bringing in more business. And so I think the people piece is the most important. And I feel like it's this everywhere, right? And it's kind of sometimes undervalued in places. And I think realizing what we do as a mission of a company, right? It's about supporting people, right? So we don't want to do anything obviously against that. But regardless, we want to make sure that the people are a good fit. And when you have that, your company is going to exceed expectations because they're going to want to work really hard. And so I think that's like the biggest learning. And also when the wrong people are in the wrong seats, immediately, like do not wait and be like, well, let's see, or let's see if it's not a good fit. I cannot tell you when people are moved into a different seat or removed completely, the change that happens is wild, right? You have a new person in that seat or the right person and they've swapped seats. It changes everything. Things are done better because those people are in the right places. And it can actually completely change how you do business and how much business you can do because you're more efficient. So I think those are some of the big things at the end of the day. I mean, if you don't have the right people, it's going to be a struggle every day, no matter what position you're in.
So, what's exciting you about the future of Rebel Now and where is it going?
I love this question. So I think we have some really cool things on the horizon, just in general collaborations and partnerships that we have that are coming down the pipeline that I can't talk about. No one makes me sign an NDA yet. So that's on them because I'd love to 110% share all the secrets. I have zero filter. So I'm like, this is happening. I was like, should we know? And I was like, I don't know. It's fine. Now you know. Thank you. Don't tell anyone I told you. So I think some strategic partnerships coming down is really going to do some pendulum swinging in our space. And, right now we're really going after some bigger changes in how we focus on certain parts of the business. Our experience business has 180'd a lot of things that we do and how we do them. We will not open a retail space that is not a space that can have an experience that can contain community. And we do bigger and bigger events every year. That is a huge part, at the end of the day of our bottom line. We were at South by Southwest last year. We were invited there to do an activation. We were invited to really big company leadership conferences to do experiences there with their leadership teams. And so we're flown across the country to do all sorts of these things. And it has changed a lot of how we do things. And experience, I mean, people crave connection. And we are like, this is perfect. We provide that. How do we make this a bigger part of what we do? And I think that's a huge pendulum shift that's kind of been moving in this direction to really take us to a whole different realm of what we're capable of and what we're able to do and execute to really scale Rebel Now. So I am super excited to see, some of those things come to fruition this year and what that's going to look like in the future, because this is that trajectory that, when you have those like, this is a pivotal moment, whatever people say, where it's like, this is that turning point. Like, I feel like this is the year that you're going to see us do some really big things and change kind of how people perceive our small women-owned business to do way more.
And that's a reflection of your leadership in part too, I'm sure. Just running everything and being the driver, which kudos to you with you're in that hockey stick moment. You think about that pivotal growth trajectory and all those systems and operational structures are in place.
Yeah. And I think this past year has really, we've set up the structures to then pop it off.
And that's really exciting because a girl story everyone loves to be a part of. That's super exciting for you. And I'm sure the community is really excited for you as well. Like, oh, Kim's killing it and Rebel Nell, they're all over the place representing Detroit and really just the mission, which is super exciting. So really, really enjoyed the conversation. It's Rebel Nell is definitely one of those brands. We hope that within the country at large, like that's Kim, that's Detroit. This is truly what it represents as well, which I think is you have a great mission. How can the community support Rebel Nell, support you? And at the same time, what tips and tricks or recommendations do you have for anybody in the marketplace and listeners?
Yeah. Well, first off, to support me personally, I like snacks. Okay. So I'm a snack. Trader Joe's has really good snacks. I'm now an executive member of Costco. I'm just saying, like, you asked the question. This is my serious response. But, I think at the end of the day, let's do an event together. Or what kind of gifting do you need done? Like, how can we make something? We do custom things. I think it's just people knowing that we do more than just sell jewelry. And you can have an experience. If you actually like your team, we do team buildings. If you want something custom made from, some material you have, we can do that. If you have someone in your life you actually like or care about, we have gifts that you can get them, and it means something, and it's a true piece of Detroit, especially for those that aren't from Detroit and they don't know. You don't know what you don't know until you know. They deserve a piece of Rebel now because it's legit. We picked it up off the ground. It is now in jewelry, and it's really cool. And so I think it's just people knowing that we have a vast array of offerings and continuing to, buy gifts from us and tell other people how awesome the experience has been. Obviously, word of mouth, especially in Detroit, right, is a huge part of that. That's what support looks like for us. It's telling people how great we are. It's purchasing things from us because we're a retailer and that's what we do. And also knowing we have experiences and they're fun. And yes, I am biased because I typically facilitate them and I'm very funny. Unless you don't like sarcasm, and then I'm so sorry. But, I think that's a huge part is just awareness that we do more. And the support means, what wallet share can you provide? And, I get it. Eggs are $800 an egg. So it's very meaningful where people spend their money, especially if it's money that they don't have to spend. Right. And I think that's important that when you are thinking about what money am I going to spend outside of the necessities? Who is it going to go to? Who is it going to support? What is that going to look like? That this is the place to do it. And tips and tricks. Tips and tricks. I think you have to fail to learn. And again, I'm perfect, so I don't. And it's also okay to fall on your face in front of everybody. And it's a hard thing to do and experience, but it is, I cannot tell you the most things I've learned, especially no matter what job you have, what company you want to open, whatever that looks like, you're going to have to deal with people, period. And the worst things that happen with, engaging with people is sometimes things that give you the most knowledge in how to do things differently or better. And it truly teaches you and humbles you. I always say, every single human should be in some kind of service industry job before they, go into whatever they want to go into, just to be around people and see how people, because people be peopling. Again, learning from those experiences and being honest and vulnerable, no matter what level in corporate, in wherever you are, what level you are, if you are open and honest and show yourself as a real human being and not just this corporate head or CEO of coolness that no one can touch. I think it's a huge difference in how people want to work with you and how people respect you, because at the end of the day, we know that that's what matters most. Your people make or break your company. They represent you everywhere you go, no matter what. And you want them to feel excited that they are a part of something bigger and it's meaningful, even if it's like selling copy machines. Like that doesn't, listen, Office Space made millions of dollars and it's about office things. So you never want to underestimate that as well. And just the people piece is big. Learning from your mistakes is even bigger because you'll never make the same mistake again. But you will make other new mistakes that you'll be like, wow, I didn't know I could do that. And just knowing that the more you do, the more you'll know, the more you'll learn. And don't be afraid to ask questions. I always say there's no stupid question. And even if someone asks a stupid question, I will seriously be like, let's answer it together, because people are afraid. And, I do mural activations as well, and people have to write over each other. And it is like the most traumatic experience for adults to write over other people. They're like, everything's going to be okay. It is a paint marker. You are going to make it through. And so I just think it's important to break down some of those walls in front of other people. It's okay. We're all human. And the more you can connect with people, the better job you can do at anything.
I think that's something that resonates so appropriately right now when you talk about the CEO of coolness. Communicating and being authentic is a definition of coolness, and from my standpoint,
For sure.
just be real and speak in their language and be honest. So I am going to order a T-shirt that says "a CEO of coolness" for you.
Love it.
Should arrive in about 5 days. Just can't wait for you to carry it. It's going to have your last name on the back. What number do you prefer, 6, 7, or
6, 7. Or I think my number in high school was 13. Now I don't remember. Or 21. No, I think it was 21. I played soccer. I pretended like I was very good. I just knocked people over. It was really great. But yeah, it was 21.
reality of age when you play sports? It's just another injury waiting to happen.
I
We're not
can't play it
young anymore.
anymore. Yeah, to be clear, I would die. I would fall over. My sciatica would hurt. I actually tried when I first moved to Detroit 12 years ago, and I think I almost broke my hamstring trying to run. And I was like, I guess I haven't done this in too long. I can't. So don't ask. I will not.
We just talked about my back cracking before the recording happened. So it's a sad reality, unfortunately. So appreciate your time for joining. And everyone listening, there's some information about Rebel Nell and Kim. So strongly encourage you to reach out to Kim. She has some great insights to share. In addition, supporting a locally owned community that's focused on empowering women. I think it's something that's definitely worthwhile. So really appreciate you for joining us. And again, this is the Cash Flow Chronicles.
Hey, you've made it all the way to the end. Thanks for that. Make sure you subscribe to the Cash Flow Chronicles Open Forum newsletter, drop us a like, and follow us on LinkedIn and YouTube.